Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, so let's start with this. I want you to picture wealth just for a second.
hmm
When you think about financial freedom, what number pops into your head? For most of us, it's probably something with, a couple of commas.
$1 million. 10 million.
Exactly. Or you're thinking about the stuff, right? The yachts, the private jets, the whole I never have to work again fantasy.
It's the standard daydream for sure. But the research we're digging into today says that actually those numbers are kind of a distraction. They're too far away to be useful.
Right. And that's a sharp left turn for today's deep dive. We've got a whole stack of material here, a lot of it influenced by thinkers like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger.
Mm.
And it all points to this much smaller, almost grimy number.
Yeah.
They argue the most decisive number in your entire financial life is not $1 million, it's 20,000.
20,000, it sounds almost underwhelming, doesn't it?
Honestly, it sounds like a typo.
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong, 20 grand is a chunk of change. But in this economy, that's a used Honda. Maybe 6 months of rent, if you're lucky.
Right.
If I walk into a bank and whisper $20,000,
Yeah.
they're not impressed. So why is this one specific, kind of small amount the hill we're dying on today?
Because we have to look at the physics of finance, not just the math. The whole concept here is escape velocity.
Okay, escape velocity. So we're talking about rockets.
We are. Exactly.
Oh.
Think about a rocket launch. The most critical part, the part that burns the most fuel by far, is just the first few minutes.
Getting off the launch pad.
Just getting off the launch pad and out of the atmosphere. It's fighting the maximum amount of gravity and air resistance right at the beginning.
Okay, I see where this is going.
And in your financial life, everything between $0 and about $20,000. That is the atmosphere. That's the gravity well.
Yep.
That's where the resistance is thickest.
So until you punch through that $20,000 layer,
Yeah,
you're not really flying. You're just fighting not to crash.
that's the argument. You are fighting not to crash.
That's a terrifying image, but it makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
We tend to think saving money is linear, right? It's like saving your first $1,000 is just as hard as saving your 10th.
But it's not.
The sources say that's totally wrong. That first leg of the journey is just disproportionately brutal.
It is brutal because when you're below that threshold, you're living in what the research calls a state of extreme fragility. And this isn't just about not having money for fun stuff, it's the gravity of poverty.
Okay, let's dig into that gravity. I've heard the phrase, it's expensive to be poor, but I think a lot of people just don't get it. They think, how can being broke be expensive? You're not spending money.
But you are. You're spending it on friction. The best example is the old boots theory of economics.
Okay, break that down for us.
So you've got two people. One has savings, one has zero. Both need work boots. The person with savings can buy a high-quality, durable pair for, say, $150.
And those will last for years.
Exactly, 5 years. But the person in the gravity, well, they don't have $150. They physically can't do it. So they have to buy the cheap $30 boots.
Which fall apart.
They fall apart in 6 months, so they buy another pair and another. Over that same 5 years, the poor person spends maybe $300, and their feet are wet the whole time.
That's the friction. The lack of cash actually costs you more.
And it scales up to everything. Think about the car repair spiral. This is where people get crushed. You're living paycheck to paycheck. Your car starts making a funny noise. You know it needs a $500 repair.
But you don't have $500, so you turn the radio up and just hope it goes away.
You have to. You're in survival mode. But physics doesn't care about your bank account. So that $500 problem becomes a $3,000 transmission failure. Now you can't get to work.
And you lose the job. Or you go to a payday lender.
And that's the death spiral. Now you're borrowing at 400% interest. You've just strapped an anchor to your leg while you're trying to escape gravity.
It's like quicksand. You pull one foot out, the other sinks deeper. And I guess that's why 20,000 is the number. It's not about being rich. It's about having enough fuel to stop sinking.
Precisely. The sources are really blunt about this. Until you hit $20,000, no investment strategy matters. Forget the stock market. Forget crypto.
100% return on zero is still zero.
Still zero. You can't compound nothing. Your only mission, your obsession, has to be gathering enough fuel to break orbit.
Which is so hard psychologically. When you're in that tunnel, it just feels hopeless. You start to believe social mobility is a lie.
And that despair leads to numbing. It's why people in debt still buy a $7 coffee. It's not about being irresponsible. It's a dopamine hit to survive the pain of the gravity well.
So let's say a listener does it. They scrape, They save, they eat rice and beans, and they finally hit that number. $20,000 in the bank. Liquid.
Congratulations, you've reached orbit.
But here's the crazy part. You don't look any different. Same car, same clothes. But the sources say something fundamental has shifted inside your brain.
This is my favorite part of the whole concept. It's the birth of refusal power.
Refusal power. That sounds like a superpower.
It is, effectively. To get it, we have to look at this thought experiment. Jack versus Mike.
All right, walk us through it.
Okay, so you've got two guys, Jack and Mike. They're identical on paper, same job, same salary. The only difference is Jack is in the gravity, well, zero savings. Mike has his $20,000 bulletproof vest.
Okay, scene is set.
Now, their boss comes in at 5 p.m. on a Friday and says, hey, I need you both to come in this weekend unpaid. Or maybe he asks them to do something, a little shady.
For Jack, this is a horror movie.
It's a physiological event. His brain floods with cortisol. His heart rate spikes. He's thinking, if I say no, I might get fired. If I get fired, I miss rent. If I miss rent, I'm evicted.
His survival instinct just hijacks everything.
He has zero refusal power. He is a slave to his financial fragility. So he swallows his dignity and says, yes, boss.
And Mike.
Mike is calm. His heart rate doesn't even budge. He sees that $20,000 in his mind, and that represents 6 months of freedom. He knows if he gets fired today, it's okay. He won't starve. He won't lose his home.
So he can actually negotiate or just say no?
Or he can just say no. He can look his boss in the eye and say, I'm sorry, I have plans.
Wow. That's a huge power shift. The money isn't just money. It's body armor for your personality.
It creates a different reality. The research links this to something called cognitive bandwidth. There was this landmark study on scarcity that showed when you're constantly worried about money, your functional IQ drops by about 13 or 14 points.
Whoa, hang on. 13 points. That's massive. That's the difference between being average and gifted.
It's the equivalent of pulling an all-nighter and then trying to do your taxes. When you're in that gravity well, your brain is running a background process that just says, don't die. It eats up all your processing power.
So you make bad decisions, not because you're dumb, but because you're cognitively exhausted.
And hitting that $20,000 frees up the RAM. Suddenly you can think about next year, not just next Tuesday. You switch from survival mode to strategy mode. You literally become smarter.
Okay, so we've broken gravity. We got refusal power. We're feeling good. But the notes here have a huge warning sign for this next phase. They call it the great filter.
This is the danger zone. This is where most people crash the rocket right after launch.
Why? I mean, you did the hard part. You saved the money. Why blow it now?
The reward trap. Think about it. You have been denying yourself for years to get here. You've been bringing the sad lunch from home. You've been wearing the old boots.
You feel like you've earned a prize.
And your brain is screaming for dopamine. You see that 20 grand in your account, and then you see it. The shiny new SUV, the luxury vacation.
The devil on your shoulder says, hey, you're rich now. You can afford it. Treat yourself.
And if you do it, if you write that check, you're not just spending money. You're dismantling your engine. You're converting your freedom asset into a car payment liability. You fall right back into the gravity well.
It's tragic. You climb out of the pit, take one breath of fresh air, and jump right back in because the pit has a nice stereo.
It is tragic, and it's also social. We have to talk about the crab bucket effect.
Oh, the crab analogy. I love this. Explain it for anyone who hasn't heard it.
So if you put a single crab in a bucket, it can usually crawl out. But if you put a bunch of crabs in there, whenever one starts to climb up, the other crabs will literally grab it and pull it back down.
That's just awful.
It's human behavior. When you start escaping, driving a beater car, skipping the expensive dinners, your friends and family will notice. And they won't always cheer for you.
They'll say things like, oh, look at Mr. Scrooge over here, or you only live once, man.
Exactly. They aren't trying to be evil. But your discipline, it holds up a mirror to their lack of it, so they try to pull you back down to their level where they feel comfortable.
So to pass the great filter, you have to be willing to be the weirdo for a while.
You have to be okay with looking poor to actually build wealth. You have to understand that this $20,000 is seed corn. You can't grind it up to make bread today or you'll starve tomorrow. You have to let it grow.
That's a huge test of character.
Yeah.
But okay, let's say we pass it. We ignore the crabs, we ignore the SUV, we keep the 20 grand. Now we get to the good part, the mathematical shift.
This is where the snowball finally starts to roll downhill.
Right, because compound interest, which everyone talks about, is basically a myth for poor people.
It is. It requires a critical mass. Let's do the math. If you have $500 saved and you get a 20% return, you made $100.
Dinner for two, it doesn't change your life?
Exactly. But once you have that $20,000 core, a 10% year is $2,000.
That's a month of rent for a lot of people.
That's real. Now the money is doing heavy lifting. That $20,000 is like an invisible partner. It doesn't sleep, it doesn't eat, it just works 24/7 in the background, earning your freedom back for you.
I like that framing. At first, your savings is this tiny thing you have to feed, but eventually it grows into a partner that helps pay the bills.
And if you just leave it alone, it explodes. The old rule of 72 says that money in a simple index fund will double every 7 to 10 years. That 20K becomes 40K, then 80K, then 160K.
Without adding another penny.
Without lifting another finger. That's the magical shift from human-driven income to capital-driven income. But you can't get there if you eat the seed corn.
Okay, let's get tactical. For the listeners who are fired up, who want to build this rocket, or maybe they have the cash and are terrified of messing it up, the notes give a clear blueprint.
Right. And it's controversial because it's not the get-rich-quick stuff you see on social media.
So the blueprint splits the money into two buckets. Bucket number one is the bulletproof vest.
This is the first $5,000 to $10,000, and the rule is you do not invest this money.
Wait, hold on. We just talked about the invisible partner and compounding. Why would I let 10 grand just sit there, getting eaten by inflation? It feels wrong.
It's mathematically inefficient, but it's psychologically brilliant. This bucket isn't for growth, it's for defense. It's the vest.
Explain the defense part.
Okay, let's say you put every penny in the stock market. The market crashes 20%, which it will. And in the same week, your company has layoffs. Now you need cash for rent. What do?
I have to sell my stocks at the bottom.
You sell at the bottom, you lock in your losses, the vest is there to take that bullet. If the car breaks down, you use the vest, not your investments. It lets your real investments grow long term.
Okay, that makes sense. It's the moat around the castle. So what about the rest of it? Bucket number two, the soldiers.
This is the other 10 to 15,000. These are the soldiers you send to war. But, and this is critical, you don't send them on suicide missions.
Meaning, don't put it all on some crypto coin or a penny stock your uncle told you about.
Exactly. You buy the whole haystack, you put it in low-cost, broad market index funds, an S&P 500 fund. You're not betting on one company. You're just betting on the global economy growing over time.
So you've got the vest for defense, the soldiers for offense. But there's a third piece here that I found really interesting, asymmetric risk.
This is the turbocharger. Once you have that 20K safety net, you can afford to take a tiny piece, maybe $1,000, and bet on skills.
Give me an example of that.
Okay, you spend $1,000 on a professional certification course. Best case scenario. You learn a skill that gets you a $5,000 raise.
A raise that pays out every year.
Forever. That's an infinite ROI. The stock market might give you 8%. Investing in your own earning power can give you 500%, but you can only take that risk when you're not worried about rent.
That $20,000 gives you the courage to invest in yourself. Okay, so before we wrap, we have to touch on the death list. The things that will absolutely kill you before you get to orbit.
3 big killers. First, leverage. Never, ever borrow money to invest. If the market dips, you get a margin call and you're wiped out.
Number 2.
Complex derivatives. Options, futures. For amateurs, they're just slaughterhouses. You're playing against algorithms that are infinitely smarter and faster than you are. Don't do it.
And number 3. This one's going to be controversial. The notes say, do not buy a house yet.
I know, the American dream. Everyone says rent is just throwing money away.
But is it?
Not at this stage. Think about it. If you take your precious $20,000 and dump it into a down payment, what just happened? Your liquidity is gone, you have no cash, and now you have a mortgage, property taxes, and a roof that's going to leak.
You've lost your refusal power.
Yeah.
You can't walk away from your boss because the bank owns you for the next 30 years.
Exactly. A house is a great asset later, but when you're trying to achieve escape velocity, you need to be light and flexible. Locking it all up in drywall is a strategic mistake.
That's a tough pill to swallow, but it fits the physics idea. Lightness equals speed.
Right. And that brings us to the final point, redefining wealth. We have to stop thinking about it as stuff.
The yacht again.
Yeah, wealth isn't a yacht. Wealth is a low cortisol life.
I love that phrase.
Poverty is a chronic disease caused by high cortisol. It ruins your sleep, it wrecks your health, it makes you impatient with your family. That 20,000 in the bank isn't just a financial asset, it's a medical device.
It's buying you 8 hours of sleep a night.
It's buying you peace. If you drive a beat-up old Honda, but you have 20K in the bank and you sleep like a baby, you are richer than the guy in the new BMW who's staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m. worried about the payment.
It flips the whole power dynamic. Before 20K, money is your master.
Yeah.
After, you're the master. It's just a tool.
And that's the whole game. It's not about greed. It's about dignity.
So we're not just here to talk. Let's issue a challenge to everyone listening.
The challenge is simple. If you're not at escape velocity yet, the mission starts right now. Get a piece of paper and write down what you are willing to sacrifice to get there.
Is it the daily coffee? The streaming services? Is it driving for a ride share on the weekends?
It's a contract you make with your future self. Suffer a little bit now so you can be free forever.
Because once you hit that number, once you break gravity, you haven't just saved some money. You've changed the entire trajectory of your life.
You've changed your family's destiny. The gravity's broken. Now you can finally fly.
The countdown is on. Thanks for diving in with us. Go win that first round.
See you up there.
This